Hey, 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 hey. Peace. A slight technical difficulty. And yet I'm here. I fixed it. Yeah. All right. So I know I missed everybody online last week. So I want to spend a little bit of time, collect your questions and things like that. Infinite mind, peace of God, peace of God. Wise you, District 120. Last week I was here and I wasn't online and it was nice and warm. Now I'm freezing here. It's always different temperatures. All right. 793rd piece. Again, for all of you, I know I haven't seen you in a week, so online that is. So whatever questions you have, let me know. Spend a little time with that. I have a whole bunch of wonderful rants though, but in the week that has passed though, I've let them go. So we'll have to build new ones. All right. Be divine thought. Allah, peace. All right. Peace, peace. All right, let me know. Let me know what you have. Let me know what you have. Okay. Hopefully, the thoughts and ideas that you'll have will keep me warm. I am ready for spring, and I get a last bit of winter here. So, all right. I know some of my students have text me and everything like that. So right now I'm using my phone as the mobile how to connect to the laptop here. I'm using a different plug, so it's just real sensitive, old school, you know what I mean? If we do get lost, that was because it'd be, I have to start all over again. Jarrell, peace, God. But again, like I said, for all of you, I wasn't here. I wasn't on the live here while I was in the class last week. So let me know what what you want to know and everything like that. Any questions that you developed over the time and stuff, so that I could answer them and then we could get on. You know what I mean? Builds on the day's math or anything that you had before. You know where you're at. I'd like to know where everybody's at. In the 1 to 14 born degree, does that have any correlation with the Shriners? That's what people normally build when they build with that, So clearly it does because, not clearly it does. It's wrong word choice. Clearly it definitely could. Clearly it definitely could. Oh my God, I'm talking like a politician here. It could, you know what I mean? It definitely could, because they have to go under the study and stuff like that. You know what I mean? Remember, 120 is mathematical though. So anything that you see out of a Masonic temple, anything that you see out of a Masonic temple and stuff like that, would definitely be in the style of 120, numbered teachings that are numbered and things like that. These are very similar to the Masonic teachings. So, again, an Eastern style. And 120 is very similar to a lot of other things, like this, the Circle 7 Quran, and other books in that sense. And a lot of ancient texts, a lot of ancient texts are numbered and stuff. You know what I mean? It wasn't the translations of the Tao or the Dhammapada that all of a sudden they decided to number them. No, those are always numbered, and people memorized them by the number, and they were on that. You said you asked. I asked because the symbols on their crowns. Oh yeah, indeed, yeah. You know what I mean? And then these symbols end up becoming universally under the study. You know what I mean? Having a sword above your head. So they certainly are, related though. The reason I say that it could, but not always definite, is because I don't want you to assume that it's always that with everything. You know what I mean? Not everything that you're seeing is people getting the knowledge of self. You know what I mean? The truth is that it gets diluted into many forms, into many things. So like you go to college, you go to a fraternity or sorority, and you're not really getting to any of that. You're just there for connections and stuff. Even though some of the rituals and stuff like that might have that feel, but no, So that's really what it is, But certainly, definitely. And I see it appears I missed the premiere of an Infinite Mind video. Where are the algorithms? Where are the algorithms keeping me up to date when I need them? What type of shit is this? I thought the algorithms are friendly, to interrupt my daily viewing and assume that I would want to see Infinite Mind. Right? These algorithms are very picky. Again, the sword, the sword and everything like that becomes a universal symbol of being under that sword and stuff. So it's not unique to the lesson. You know what I mean? It's not unique to the lesson. And you're right, it is on the Allah School of Mecca page. Definitely save it for later. Yeah, I'm sure that not every black frat is chopping off people's tongues. You know what I mean? But they, the culture dwindles down. You know what I mean? And becomes things that people do. Mm-hmm. Remember, everybody has different levels of what would be revealing the teachings. You know what I mean? Right? What are those teachings, though? You know what I mean? And on all levels, there's different levels of what would be that. Right? Jarrell, you said in the wisdom cipher degree of the 1 to 40, what does civilized being held responsible for the uncivilized entail as far as prescribed laws of Islam? I could say that there is some type of punishment. Because remember, with any organized teaching, we have to assume certain things, right? If there's an organized teaching, then that means that there are organized things that are expected of the teaching. You know what I mean? Ways of teaching it, how to disseminate it, who to disseminate it to, and under, what levels of development that we expect out of them. I would, to me, this is a degree that really doesn't always apply to us. You know what I mean? Because in the real grand scheme of things, the only person that would really suffer from you not teaching, though, is the world that you live in. This whole world. And if you have the knowledge of self and you're willing to suffer like that, then so be it. Let me say that again, right? Creator creates in his own creation. Creation, right, has its own reality that influences the creator. And creator creates again with these lessons. Part of the reality of creation is the creator learning of the creation and also learning of himself as he creates, because what he sees within, he puts without, and he starts to learn of himself through the creation. So part of making this creation work that he is within as well entails what? Entails also sharing ideas so that his ideas take full fruition. Because all ideas, the majority of ideas still take actions with other people. You know what I mean? Don't really matter what it is, but the more grand the scheme of the creation, the more that it entails people's interaction. You know what I mean? The meals you eat, the books you write, even the music you create, the children you create, the places you create, the homes you create, they all entail the interaction of people. So they all entail, though, that if you engage in something, someone would have had to be educated to the things that you know and see. The truth is that most people are, because that's how society works. Many things are already pre-done, seemingly. They're pre-done for you. But if you were to create successfully in your own creation, where all creators abound and around, and you are affected, then that means that it cannot really continue to go on unless people have a knowledge of you. Not only do you have a knowledge of yourself, but your culture demands that people have a knowledge of you and the nature by which you will create. This is very important. You see? So there is really no punishment that someone could give the true and living God if he doesn't teach. The punishment is really his own. And it's so profound that the only way to describe it is to give you this philosophical thing here. You know what I mean? Because what am I going to say, though? He doesn't teach, though. Oh, the kids, they won't learn. You know what I mean? If someone doesn't know that once they get knowledge of self, then they're not really, you know what I mean? What type of true and living God are they? They're not really realizing that they are responsible for all things. And in the engagement of any creation or act active reality of themselves is based on that responsibility. You know what I mean? It is based on that responsibility. Even for, say, like, for example, if an artist creates art and he says, no, I just do art for me. I don't care what I say. I don't care what I show. I don't care what I reveal. It's up to people to deal with it. Do you realize that the education is already inside the art? Because most people will either be educated as they present the art to you, or as that artist even comes to explain the art and talk about being an artist, that people will understand that that's where they went with it. That they are not being, that there are levels of responsibility that they are not taking and that they are taking. You know what I mean? The truth is that nearly everything has some type of education, or it has some type of miseducation, where something is deliberately left out. Or, and if it's, and I'm talking about people that know. We're not talking about, I'm talking, look, the degree is what is the civilized, the civilized, no. You know what I mean? I'm not talking about the ignorant, the ignorant tool. You know what I mean? I'm talking about those that know. You know what I mean? What would be the punishment for a person like that? It couldn't be something given to them. It couldn't be lashes. Some silly thing like that. We actually have to punish somebody that is a civilized person. And in this context, that they, based on the context of the knowledge equality degree, right? Otherwise known as civilized people. It's the context of the way the word is used in the 16th degree, that by the time we know the civilized person, we know what he does in the 18th degree. We know what happens in a very abstract way, in a kind of religious way, in the 19th degree, right? But the truth is that the civilized person is that 5%. And theoretically, if I'm teaching everyone that is a true and living God, you already are responsible. Everything you do will show you responsible, because you either will create something that would allow humanity, right? That will allow humanity to become as civilized, or to have the forums to be even greater than you are, or you will be creating a reality where there will be another obstruction for you. So this is already a problem, you know what I mean? Who could give this punishment? That's why sometimes in degree, like the knowledge build degree is so important to me. And it's not important to me as like, oh, I need to know my duty. It's really about a pedagogical degree, like a degree that's teaching how to teach. You know what I mean? But a degree that tells me, like the knowledge build degree, Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 18, people look at it in the wrong way. Ezekiel chapter 3, verse 18 for us is really, everything is connected by what you were doing, and that everything will crumble around you. You know what I mean? If you create and if you dominate in a place of ignorance, though, then you will fall victim to that ignorance. You know what I mean? Because it'll be too heavy. You know what I mean? There has to be something to share. And again, I'm talking specifically for those that know. You know what I mean? For those that know. For those that are civilized, who have know the state of civility and interaction of humanity that comes and that ought to be with this knowledge of self, not for the average person. Right? It's not what I mean, the average person. Quatis, I have not. I saw it there. I've been so busy, I didn't get to look at what you had sent me. So I'll have some time to check it this weekend and stuff. You know what I mean? What a wonderful type week, though, where it just races by you, though. You know what I mean? I cannot say that I did everything, but I also can't say that I didn't accomplish things. So this is the only type of week you should look forward to. If you have a week where you accomplish everything, then it's possible that you didn't really have many things to accomplish. All right? Malik, I hope you got the emails. I sent your email. Hope you got that. Hope it's beneficial to you. I should always be busy, right? I should. But yeah, definitely check that out. All right, let me know your questions. I was out away from you all the whole week, so definitely let me know what it all is, what the deal is. All right. Peace, knowledge, Allah. All right, let me know what's going on here. Let me know what's going on here, okay? Because the way I consider it is that even if I had ideas about where everybody was at, I feel like I'm out of touch with all you online because, except for the ones that I build with, because I didn't see you last week. You know what I mean? So my mind is on different things. So it's time. Where you at? Where have you been building? What are you on? All right, that's peace, Drill. Peace. Yeah. I gave you a couple of books. Make sure you look though. Yeah. 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 It's pretty cold here, so I had to leave the sweater on. Knowledge Allah, you said I've been building with a lot of C's lately, not necessarily super young, but a lot younger than me. And they've got a million questions. They're trying to make these lessons more practical. I don't know if you noticed it, right? The lessons are curriculum that people build up to, okay? We're talking about, I mentioned the knowledge build degree, right? Why is it important to me? The duty of a civilized person, the answer, right? What is the duty of a civilized person? The duty of a civilized person, teach he who is savage civilization, righteousness. Let me write that down. Let me write it down. So you see it though. Civilization. Did not spell it very civil. Civilization, righteousness, knowledge of self. Right? What's after the knowledge of self? Science of everything in life. All right. I will get back to you, Malik. You should be able to open them. You just have to get the Google Play books. Get Google Play books, okay? And these books will do more for you at EPUB. They look better. They're better than the PDF, all of that. So if I give you EPUB, EPUB is the best type of book to have, okay? It's the best type of file. You open it in the Google Books. The only reason it wouldn't open in Google Play Books is because it's too large. I didn't give you anything too large, like it wouldn't open there. So what you do is on your laptop, on your computer is where it's best to open it, and you upload it into your Google Books. You know what I mean? So like, you know, when you're in Gmail, you'll see, you know, the Google apps on the top right next to your, you know, your avatar, to the right, to the left of your avatar. You know what I mean? The Google apps. So it'd be like the 9 dots. You click on that, and you'll see books, and you open that, and you click through that. It'll tell you how you get into the library, right? You click on that, and it goes by. You click on My Library, My Books on Google Play, and then at the top right again, it'll say Upload Files, okay? Then you can upload the files that you would have saved from the email I sent you into your computer, and you could save it into the Google Books. And then on your apps on your phone, you could just read it there and everything. And these will read the best. You could put notes in it, everything. All right, so why did I write down those 4 things, right? And let me read some of the things you said, Nanzar, because you said something else, Nanzar. You said, I've been looking at the degrees from other angles and build and add on with the lessons because I know them. I'm not the best in baby feeding those who lack understanding. That's a good question. This is why, right? People go out there trying to teach them what you truly have been invigorated by. Knowledge of self, the science of everything in life. The truth is that's not really going to be taught to most people. You're there to teach people civilization. You know what I mean? Civilization. In other words, what is this reality that they're in? And what is truly a civilized reality? And that this is not the peak of civilization. Okay? And then those who are willing to see these things, that there is a different world, that there are more things to learn, then you will show them some things to work to be righteous. It is holding their hand. It is guiding them. For those who can guide themselves, they have the opportunity and they show the potential. And this is to the best of your ability, right? You're not trying to bloodsuck, but you don't waste your time. You also don't waste your time when you could share it with somebody else. Then they get the knowledge of self. You say, hey, listen, you know, this is all, you know, the black man is God. You can do this, you know what I mean? And this is what I've been trying to tell you. You know what I mean? So you might, in conversation, say that you're the true living God pretty immediately, but that doesn't mean that you're teaching them, and that doesn't mean that they get that. It takes a while before people can get that. What they might get first is that you say you are that, but they're not getting this concept that it is you are that because we are that, and because we are the original man, right? So that's, so you take on a thing to look. You teach a young kid to have a better ear for quality music, and he thinks properly and learns that Pitbull is evil, and all that trap music is a waste of time. You know what I mean? You've done your duty. You planted a wonderful seed of discretion. You know what I mean? I'm kidding, right? I'm not really kidding that much, but the idea is you're teaching them civilization. And a lot of this is about teaching them to willingly discern that it is okay to be here in this space, but also have a commentary about the space. See, for a creator to create, they have to ask one question. It is always a one question. What if? If people are so content with horse blinders on, they cannot be creators. They cannot say, well, what if? Well, then they have to get into the state and say, what's wrong? And that's why a lot of people, when they get the knowledge of self, they spend a lot of time criticizing 85. That doesn't mean that you're stuck in that level. It's a part of the growth of being able to discern, to finally discern, to say, look, this way that it was being done is wrong, to critique, to critically think. These are the beginnings. This is what you're developing with youth, because every person that you teach has the greatest potential of being civilized. And this is what has to be taught first. You teach these young people to start being discerned. Why do they like, how young do they go? Why do they like this cartoon? Why do they like that? My daughter's about to be 20 and she still has to explain to me why she has a like or dislike of things. It's these things that children aren't challenged to, and in this world where everything is accepted, one of the simplest ways to teach youth is just teach them like, well, you like that, right? And not on some disrespectful way, but like, what do you like about that? Like, what's the thing that you like about that? You know what I mean? And you wait for it. You don't condescend. You wait for it. Like maybe they want to know why you like or dislike it, and you try to say it though. And the key is that you try not to condescend, right? You know what I mean? And when you speak to them on their level and show that the world that they are in, that is just a world that they think they're in. It was just a matrix. That you still respect the world that they think they're in. This is how we teach people. Because to teach people that are blind, deaf, and dumb, what civilization is, we have to teach them with what? Civility and graciousness toward their humanity. Oh, so what's the point? And for that means that it has to be okay for you, the one who's teaching, that they might not always understand everything that you're teaching them. You know what I mean? They might not always get it. You know what I mean? Right. Let's see here. Okay, I'm going back because Kwati said some things. Wisdom, Kwati said, all being born to culture freedom. I see it as reflection of one's work. Reflection, wisdom on one's work, wisdom. Yeah, interesting. To determine if it leads to a worthwhile. In other words, now, you were working with what you once worked. You're looking back at your own work. Looking at my career, looking at the effort I put into developing P.E.A.C.E continues, and then comparing that to what my experiences are, allows me to build that unique way of life with a unique understanding. Peace-born reality. And yes, I need some pics. All right. All right. Great to see you here, Dr. Dankenstein. All right. Put some funk up in the mix here. That reflection, P.E.A.C.E continues, is also an inspiration. The ideas themselves that drive one's efforts. I've noticed that inspiration is short-lived. Having clarity on the reasons, as you always say, right? That earth, wind, fire, the reasons that we're here, is what allows us to keep the culture, to continue to fashion it the way that suits each individual most, and that's the boring part. And where the temptation lives to get complacent or give up on the idea or vision. That reflection is also, That reflection is also, P.E.A.C.E continues, on the idea, because we have to learn what type of culture we want to live. And if we are only exposed to ineffective ways of life, we may not know how to see a culture through to power our balance and never be in our proper place, because there is more than just the obvious. The essence keeps coming back to the diligent effort to make or find the use of a particular thing. That's a lot of stuff to unpack there, but it is well unpacked by you, P.E.A.C.E. I see that, you know what I mean? And the work that we once did that's good is short-lived. And for me, I think it only should be there to remind you that you could do this again. There's a great thing. I don't know the exact quote because I don't have my journal with me. I've been writing it in my journal since I see as a quote, peace, 80. Peace, God. I couldn't see you from here. In my journals, ever since I saw the Last Dance documentary with Jordan, right? Phil Jackson, I think it's the very first episode. He talks because the very first episode they get to the first championship, and he says that the reality of success is something that is ongoing, and he basically says to actually be a success, you cannot just revel in the success. You have to be in the success. So once you succeed, you have to go back and do it again, And I see that as inspiration, though, because we're able to do this. And now that we have succeeded, we have the proof that we can continue to do it again and again. You know what I mean? You have to look at things that way. You cannot look at things any other kind of way. You know what I mean? Sometimes people look at that and they're their own judgments. I'll give you an example musically. Let's just take it musically, right? It's an easy example. Raekwon's Cuban Links is one of the top albums of all time. It could easily be called the greatest album of all time. Certainly, I think has to be in a top 10 of anyone that's really like judging things as a collector. You know what I mean? Because you're not going to buy other stuff before this. There's very little that you're going to buy besides Rakim, P.E.A.C.E, maybe KRS, like the essentials. But anyway, a lot of people said that Raekwon had difficulty and he couldn't come up with another album or other album until Cuban Links 2, right? But this is all perception, because the success of what he did wasn't just that album, complete album. It also was in what makes him a success. It was the particular rhymes, the rhyme schemes. And if we take the history of Raekwon from 1995 all the way to 2009, when he came out with only Cuban Links 2, which is a great album, and succeeded in saying, I became a success again. Between those years, 1995 and 2009, the verses, the songs, there are countless classics and influential songs that it has to be said, and I certainly as a historian would say and prove it, the music that he put forth, even after Cuban Links, all the way to 2009, before Cuban Links 2, is actually monumental and extremely influential to most of the great MCs of today. You know what I mean? So the truth is that how we judge that success, how we take, if we're using Quartice's model here, how we take the wisdom that we've already worked and we take it as new wisdom, and that this is new fodder for us to build with, right? Then this is really the interactions of what culture is as well. You see? Sometimes the greatest proofs of you being great is because you are great and you have been great, and that these things continue. And the best way to let it go is to realize that it did happen, and so it will happen again. You know what I mean? And sometimes the best way to supposedly let go of the past is to acknowledge that it actually was there. Because even if that past didn't exist, the idea of it is now what you were looking at. You know, so it's either what was really there or what was. You know what I mean? It's a fascinating concept. You know what I mean? It's a fascinating concept. Jarrell, you said when I really looked into the degree and started to think on it, there had to be responsibility not only for my own self, yet still a reciprocity relative to humanity being part of that truth. Indeed, indeed, indeed. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying this in any kind of way, though, but when I started to teach, I don't do this because if I come here, I'm here to teach who is here now. You know what I mean? But if I look back at what I've done, the effects of what I've taught and who I've taught, though, you know, I see it. I see it, and it's a wonderful thing. It's a wonderful thing. And the truth is that if you are a civilized person anyway, and it is not in your mentality to find some way to share what you truly know in some kind of way, it may not be direct teaching. It could be through your arts, you know. It could be just the manner that you keep yourself. You know what I mean? It's all type of ways. You know what I mean? But when we have this knowledge of self, when we talk civilized person in those degrees, it's clearly talking about a 5%. You know? So we're not talking about someone that is decent, civilized man. We're not, you know, outside of the society, a good man. We have to take that degree as really meaning a 5%er. Also known as civilized people, right? A civilized man. That man knows. And that man's work has to be to teach, because the things that he is going to create, think about this, right? For many of the things that God has to create, the world has to know that God exists. One of the reasons that so many things aren't created that need to be created for our world to truly be greater is because people don't know that God exists. And so they cannot be open to the possibility. It is a great impossibility. And that's the power of religion, though. The greatness of what God can achieve is an impossibility. It is a hopeful striving. And most people don't realize that when people achieve great things, it is because they go against that concept. It doesn't matter how many give glory to gods that they give. They went against that somehow. How much easier it would be in the world, how much more potent it would be in the world if that creator was creating and people had knowledge of him. It's like it's easy to see sometimes in the art world, like the mental aspect of things, but like how much more fun how much easier is it for a comedian to go do a show in front of people that truly are ready to laugh, as opposed to people that really don't want to be there. You know what I mean? Really don't want to be there. It's much different. And that's why I like, you know, if people are, it could be self-fulfilling though. When people pay money to see a comedian, I mean, they really want him to be funny, the majority, you know what I mean? And so it sets up things where he can be funny, you know? Right? And I am yawning, not really because I'm tired, but because I'm cold as hell here. All right. Malik, you said that degree is multi-layered. It shows that many need certain parts of the degree. And see, Malik, you know, civilization, righteousness, the knowledge of self, and the science of everything in life. When we get knowledge of self, we're in the science of life. However, the science of life continues to expose aspects of civilization, aspects of righteousness, and aspects of the knowledge of self. So we were in that curriculum of science of life, but it is always revealing the other three. You know? Jarrell, you also said, similar to how I see today's math being wisdom born to culture, a reciprocal relationship with our ways and actions, getting what is put out and goes into it. This is a great insight. You know what I mean? This is a great insight. You know, what Quartis and what you, Jarrell, are saying. You know, this idea of one's own self, propelling oneself to something new. I love it. I love it. Malik, when you click on that, are you going, you're clicking on the file, right? That's happening when you click on the file, right? I wouldn't want you to click on the file because you have nothing that can open it. You know what I mean? You're not gonna, unless you download something, an EPUB reader, you're not gonna be able to open the file in your laptop anyway. So it would do that. What you need to do is right click it and just save it to your computer. And then in Google Books, upload it to Google Books, right? Google Play Books, right? You don't try to open it in your laptop because you don't have anything that could read that. So that's why I won't open it. District 120 music. Peace. You said 22, victory comes from making the culture of living mathematics walk and talk. Right? There's a simple reverse way of building. Not wrong, correct? All right, supreme freedom, peace. Dr. Dankenstein, all right, my funky brother right here. Wisdom, all being born to culture, freedom. Wise words affect ways and actions. Wise words affect ways and actions, which in turn get associated with whatever culture you associate yourself with. Interesting. Mind being I, self, Lord, and Master. Very interesting. An interesting thought. In turn, you said to get associated with whatever culture you associate yourself with. See, one thing I realized, right, is that when we're really being out there with the people, we could be associated with lots of things that aren't necessarily our culture. You know what I mean? Or not would seem to be our culture. Because we go back to the people. We go back to the people to build with them. You know what I mean? Peace. Peace to the God.
All right.
For you, it was nice and warm here last week.
Yeah.
And now I'm freezing my ass off. But I'm ready for spring. I don't know what all this winter shit is about. But Dankenstein, you also said, listen to the wise and act accordingly in order to best represent your culture, which in turn will free you from the standards and practices of other cultures other than your own. One assignment I would give for you, Dankenstein, right? How do we judge the wise? You know what I mean? Like, this is always important too. You know what I mean? We can only use the wisdom that we have to judge the wisdom of others as well. You know what I mean? The things that we are trying to learn are unknown. So sometimes we have to go into the unknown. We have to be daring like that. And everything is a test. You know what I mean? Malik, you said when you look at the 17th degree, what is the bond is? Civilization, rights, science. Okay, each student needs one or all. That's multi-layered. Indeed, Malik, when you said it, I got it. Yeah, indeed. Right? Indeed, I definitely got that. You know what I mean? Ah, who's asking me about today's degree? How old was the founder? I never have like a super build on today's degree. You know what I'm saying? It's the wisdom degree, so it has a lot of the balance of concept that everyone here is building about the day's mathematics. You know what I mean? Wisdom. You know what I mean? Ideas on either side. The concept that's going to make him victorious in his undertaking. You know what I mean? Right? But when we look at this concept of like the two pieces of steel, you know, I think about this a lot, right? Because in the Tao, they talk about something that reminds me of the two pieces of steel, but it isn't really the same thing. But it just correlates in my mind so heavily that it ends up having insight to me. Maybe it has to you as I share it. The Tao is about emptiness being the fullness, meaning that what is empty is really was what is being used to fill. Like the wheel is basically useful for its emptiness. The cup is useful by its emptiness. You know what I mean? And the truth is that the two pieces of steel, right? One had the magnetic and one did not. And the truth is that the piece without the magnetic is just as important as the piece with the magnetic. You see? And this intrigues me because I think about the emptiness and fullness of that. In this case, then, the piece with the magnetic would be the full, right? And the piece without the magnetic would be the empty. And so, in many respects, Yakub may have had discovered for himself how to manipulate the concepts of emptiness and fullness as well, just like the Taoists have talked about. So, what he was trying to manipulate was the what? The piece without the magnetic. You see? He was trying to elevate the piece without the magnetic, fill up the piece without the magnetic. You know what I mean? And this is intriguing to me. It's something I think about. You know what I mean? So when I think about that degree, I think that when we think about all things, when we deal with people, when we think about what is victorious, though, what types of wisdom will go together to be victorious, right? Sometimes what has been meaningless and what has been useless is just not matched up with what is useful. You see? And that's really what Yakub discovered, that many things can be useful if it just finds the right connection, you know? Because now certainly for Yakub, right, in his undertakings, that piece without the magnetic all of a sudden becomes, you know, absolutely essential. And I find this intriguing. And it's also based on the concepts of emptiness and fullness. So it all goes together, the meaning. And that's kind of what I think about with today's degree. You know what I mean? Think about that for a while. You know what I mean? I'm seeing a glitch. I hope I'm not losing anybody. You know? My chords here that I had to use in place aren't as Good. That's good to me. Quartis, you said my build got cut off. This was such a difficult degree for me to gather insight on. I feel like it is still very much incomplete. But the skeleton is there, the double number. Leaves me banging my head on the wall. That's good, though. That's good. Because you know there is more than that, than just the obvious. The essence keeps coming back to the diligent effort to make or find the use of a particular thing happening. Now, culture is something that is outward. Knowledge, wisdom, understanding is mental. The created idea that is truthful, right? Used, diligently used, and now proven via understanding a revelation of its purpose to be absolutely essential. And it is now lived out as a culture. That culture is out. So when we look at wisdom all being born to culture, we're also talking about humanity. That the wisdom of one and the wisdom of others is what makes culture, what makes the interaction of culture. And the truth is that your wisdom is also interacting with others to make your own culture. No matter how much we try to say they're blind, deaf, and dumb, they're 85, this and that, our culture of this knowledge of self is actually shaped by how, why, and how the people don't have the knowledge of self. You see? It's an interaction of things, and that's what you should look at. And I felt like you did understand much of it because that's where you were coming from, you know, with the interaction of things. You said, I'm looking at that degree. It says he was 6 years old when he started to develop an understanding. So I'm thinking about how the youth are able to draw up information, especially since I've been dealing with the youth lately. You know, yes, you could, you know, the youth, a youth as Yakub would have realized parts of the principle. I was taught that it really symbolizes understanding as the year that he got it. But I also feel that he was precocious and understood the concepts at an early age as well. You know what I mean? I think it's a combination if we would be real about a real person, you know? Dangassan, you said you may have to go into the unknown, but your own self isn't unknown. Oh, of course. Although you may be going to learn more about deeper states of yourself, you have to know yourself to a certain degree to go into the unknown. All creation is made out of the unknown because it was not known before. So the mindset of the creator is always inside the unknown. They are known in the unknown. You see? Creator is in his own creation. Creation is always being created, but you are part of that creation because you're the creator and you are continually creating yourself. You are ever creating, you are ever growing, ever developing. So there was always something unknown of you that you were ever discovering. It's a wonderful thing. LT Station, peace. You said wisdom, peace. You said peace. Wisdom borns culture. What you say and do shows how you live in your way of life. Certainly what you do, not 100% always what people say, right? Sunez Allah, you said, I'm looking at my degree. I'm considering how I can balance my wisdom with the youth's wisdom. Indeed. This is the goal. You know what I mean? Part of being a teacher is to find out what students already know. And that's the thing, right? Wisdom, right? To have a culture of education. You have wisdom you're going to share. But to be a teacher, you have to quest inside the student's mind to see what are the great things that they already know, what makes them worthwhile. It's a horrible ego to teach a child as if they were empty and void. You know what I mean? If they were void. They are empty to be filled, but they are not void. You know? And when the child feels like he's being treated as if they are void, they will not respect what you have to share with them. You know what I mean? And I understand that because that would be grossly disrespectful. LT Station, you said wisdom is a reflection of knowledge. We reflect on what is expressed by what we are saying or doing or going to say or do. We should see and show victory, meaning positive outcome. I agree. I definitely agree. Wise you said today is to apply your words properly through foresight in hindsight. Foresight, hindsight. Oh, it's like you're almost saying like a foresight with your hindsight. It's crazy. It's crazy what you just said. It's a good way. An insight of direction to how to act accordingly at home and abound so you can attract others to your righteous way of life. I get where you're going with that, Wise you. I see it. P.E.A.C.E, Kareem. All right. Let's see. I think I'm all right. All right. So let me know what questions you have. I'm going to be doing this for a while because it is very cold in here. Oh man, this is the experience of Allah School in Mecca, the 20 years I've taught here. You know what I mean? And it's just a thing. It's just me. It's personal. You know, it's something other greats, do. I'm probably the only one to do this, but I never liked putting my coat on when I was cold in the class. Only because I want everyone to feel like they're here, But Free, you ever got that IG message I sent you a while back?
I'm not I'm sure, but I always read everything you send me.
Yeah, it's been a minute, yeah.
Yeah, it has been. I did read that one actually.
Yeah.
A lot
of life changes, you know what I mean? A lot of life changes. All right, so students, let me know what is going on. You know what I mean? I hope that we have all our things set, though, that we're trying to work on our journals, work on memorizing these lessons, and also work, students usually ask about the questions that they have on how to teach other students. Sometimes nearly all the time, we have to be also working on how we educate ourselves. Most of us don't really have good plans of how we would teach ourselves. You know what I mean? Continue to learn, continue to read. How will we do this? How will we do that? When you make a plan of how you're going to read certain books, this is a way of educating yourself. When you decide what books you're going to read, there's a way of educating yourselves. Even if I give you a whole host of books, once you decide which book you're going to read, you've made a decision as a teacher of yourself. Even as you start to read that book and decide, and if you do it overtly and say, I'm going to read this, that, you're not going to do things casually anymore. You're going to read seriously. And so certain pages have to be read a certain amount of time during the week. There has to be a net result. Then now you are educating yourself. You're putting yourself under a rigorous program. If you want to really gain the respect of people and teaching this knowledge yourself, then you have to have the respect to actually make rigorous programs of building for yourself. You see? The greatest martial artists that I've been taught by go home and train under their own strict regimen. So it has to be that way, the way we do it. You know what I mean? Since we're talking about the ideas of wisdom and looking back on our wisdom to devise new wisdom. I don't see the four devils. I don't see the four devils as emotions. I see them as viable things. I don't see them as viable things that I think everyone should say they are. But I do think that the way that you present any four devils, any kind of devilishment in you, is by the fruit of your labor. What are the fruits of your labor, and what are the things that they help you deal with? What are the successes of what you have dealt with? You know what I mean? We could say that they are in that culture degree in the knowledge, the 1 to 14. But if we said that, it would kind of prove my point. How would a man prove that he wasn't lying? He couldn't really do that. You know what I mean? He can only prove that he is telling the truth. You know what I mean? By continually proving that he tells the truth, that he proves that he is. How does a man prove that he's a builder? He has to build things. That's the only way to prove it. All right. So when he presents the four devils, though, it's like not really presenting four devils. You're presenting the builds, the creations, the elevation of self. And therein lies the looking back on it and saying, look, there can't be no lie there. There's no lie there. Works you have are presented in such a way where the people learn, right? Then you know that you didn't steal that legacy. So you know that you're not stealing. Nah, they had it last week, man. They had it last week. I'm about to do some push-ups here. But it always hits me in my hands though. But good question. What is the free transportation to Mecca? You know what I mean? That's what a student asked me for.
Yeah, that's cool.
Free transportation to Mecca. When you present things and you create things, what's the only thing that you could be presented with, though? You know what I mean? I mean, for us. You know what I mean? Because I'm not building with these lessons. I'm not a Muslim. You know what I mean? I'm not looking to get no handout. But for me, in my life, every time I presented the extinction of four devils, because my life shows that those devils been destroyed because I'm building. It proves I'm not stealing. You know what I mean? Because I'm sharing the truth. It proves that I'm not lying. Because I'm helping the people, though, it proves that I'm not going against the original man. You know what I mean? And trying to master them. So what is the reward? The free transportation to Mecca, man. Mecca is where the gods are at. And every time you build and create, what happens really? You end up around new ciphers of greater creators, better builders. The youth that you have end up being so precocious, and they elevate and they show you things you never seen. Can't tell you how many things I've learned from the hundreds of students I've been able to teach, including free here, sitting here. A lot of people put a lot of emphasis on that, Malik. You said, why is real devil inferred? Like when you mean like when the degree says, what is a real devil? I've heard this question before. Like, what do you mean by real devil? Like, there's a regular devil and shit like that. If you read Elijah's books, right, and speeches, he is like many teachers, though. They emphasize things. They repeat things. You know what I mean? There always this one type of devil, though. You know what I mean? But it's about emphasis because that's the nature of pedagogy, the teaching. You emphasize, you know what I mean? Malik, you said I could use a token. Shit. You're already here. You know what I mean? You're already here. You're built. Kareem, you said, do you think reading can be substituted for by educational programs such as this, being that a lot of young people don't like to read, or is one more effective than the other, or is it up to said persons? I see it like this, though. This needs to, well, I'm honored that something I would be doing would be considered a great educational program, but reading is like push-ups, though. I don't really want to teach anybody kung fu if they can't do no damn push-ups. You know what I mean? There's certain things that you need leg strength for. You know what I mean? Let's just think about a world without reading, though, and see how well that works. Oh yeah, I know you were kidding, Malik. Yeah, I'm just bugging you. But people have audiobooks. They'll deal with lectures all day, people telling them stuff. But the word has to be looked at. You know what I mean? And shit, I'm singing this from a lot of words I've written. You know what I mean? You gotta be a reader. I don't think there's no way around it. And when we study societies that become more literate and where the societies become societies where they actually read regularly, the amount of elevation is next level. Next level. Yeah, there's a sweatshirt, G, without reading them. It really would be. LT Station, you said, I always thought that the real devil was being compared to what the religious people think of when they hear the worst devil or think of devil. Again, that makes sense because it's emphasis, you know what I mean? And Elijah was certainly about that emphasis. So that goes in line with something Elijah would do as a type of pedagogy to do that. You know what I mean? He certainly would do that. Yeah, that's not bad. I definitely see that. You know what I mean? Again, though, the more that you know about the way that Elijah spoke, the way that he wrote, not really wrote, they're his speeches, the way his speeches are written, right? Then you're able to see those connections of how he possibly, what were his educational techniques, his pedagogical techniques. Quatis, you said, what keeps you motivated in such a crazy and short-term gratification type of world? Are you a visual person? Do you have to constantly look at the vision to stay on the path? Because this knowledge itself comes, for me, this knowledge itself came with knowledge itself to me also has come with learning martial arts, particularly Kung Fu. And so those things are very hard to separate in my life as far as my personal life. So one of the things in the Tao is to celebrate the small. You know what I mean? I know Free will see this though, but like the smallest motion of a hand and figuring it out could be a beautiful thing. You know what I'm saying? Like, I know you see this, Free. You ever put your hand out, like you start training, you just put your hand out like this, you know, this is crazy right here. Right? It's just, this shit is just crazy right here. Like, it just feels, it just, you know what I mean? And it's like the beauty of the small is something that the Tao always talks about. You know what I mean? And people talk about, you know, you have to have delayed gratification. Instant gratification is negative, and that's true. But then in your life, realize that gratification is happening everywhere. You just don't want to see it. You know what I mean? It's obviously like I worked hard. You know what I mean? Really hard. So I get the gratification of wearing this polo. You know what I mean? But the daily gratification doesn't come from that. These are like delayed gratification accumulated over time. But if I get to read a certain book, if I get to read a certain amount of pages, every single daily goal that I achieve, you know what I mean, is some type of massive gratification for me. When I complete my training, it's massive gratification. If I'm not training, it means I completed the training of the week, which means I'm gratified the whole weekend. You know what I mean? And you see the results slowly but surely. The truth is, and this is why I can teach it, I have done little things consistently for the last 30 years. And so I have seen the results that people would hope would happen in months. And it makes me chuckle because I've gotten these things over years. And it's because every single thing is small. And that comes with mindfulness too. I learned how to eat the right foods. So now every single right food, let's say if I eat, for example, this rarely happens because I learned how to cook. If I eat some food that's healthy, but it don't taste so good, it still is very gratifying because I know it's going to do something for me.
That's right.
Like I know, like, yo, this is going to take me to another level though. Like I'm going to be able to rock shit because I ate this, you know what I mean? Because I drank this. And then once you find those foods, like shit, I open a bottle of kombucha. That's 100% good. That's gratifying, man. So it's like the mentality is really where the gratification comes from. And at the same time, though, I have the massive duty of having 2 daughters. But I get to, and I, you know, like I tell all of you, I'm not a custodial parent. I'm a non-custodial parent. I don't get to see my children all the time. You know what I mean? So every single day I'm not with my children, which is most of the time, is still gratifying because I'm getting closer to seeing them. And when I don't want to build, like let's say if I just like, damn, I just miss these kids and I don't want to do shit, I got to go build something. So that way that there is something built and something has been added on in the time I wasn't with them. And man, kids, they see that. They see that. They got report cards. They give you a report card. If I talk to them for a certain amount of time, it gratifies me. So it's like, what is the level of gratification? And you all know that I'm a music journalist, though. So I got so much music, though, that shit. My ears are always gratified. You know what I mean? I walk around listening to things that people haven't heard in years. I walk around listening to things that people have not heard yet at all. You know what I mean? And then sometimes I make my own stuff that people haven't heard yet. And then we could create things to gratify ourselves. You know what I mean? And it's a beautiful world. I don't know how we're not gratified almost all the time. You know, almost all the time. Quartis, you said, what do you do to take yourself out of lazy mode when you see it's starting to creep in? Is it legacy? Is it a rugged classic house or kung fu flick? It could be all of those. The easiest is my children. Like I can't be weak. You know what I'm saying? Let me tell you something about building and things that children show you. Every time people contact me, especially my children, I'm always doing something. I'm never lounging. I'm always building something. You know what I mean? If I'm relaxing, it's because I just did something and I need rest. So my kids, they call me on the video, talking the video now. They always catch me in flux, always building. And the truth is that I don't want, when you think of creativity, you cannot always punish yourself for being what you think lazy, because most of the things that are created at times of rest, ideas and things like that. So there has to be times of rest and recuperation. You know what I mean? There has to be times where you're taking in the arts or you're not taking in anything. There has to be times of relaxation. You know what I mean? So what people call these lazy modes is really, time to relax, time to let the mind. There's a book called Blue Mind, and it's about the science of water, especially with regards to like the ocean and people living by the ocean, the fruits of being by the water. And I train every day near the water as well. You know what I mean? I'm out there. I live in Savior's Island, Staten Island, and I train. Check this, guy. I run a mile to Fort Wadsworth. Some days I'll hit jump rope or I'll do sprints on the hill. And my view is the whole water, is the water, the river. The water has a way of replenishing. But in this book, Blue Mind, it talks about all these things, but it also says that there's a lot of studies that say that the mind actually needs to wander in order to what? To actually gather and collect and connect all of the knowledge from different places that it has gotten. And I see that a lot because I'm accumulating a lot of knowledge. I'm reading a lot of books. I'm getting knowledge from all of you, experiences from individuals. I'm training every day. But see, there has to be places where you actively let your mind wander to collect these things together. And then there also has to be places where you could just relax and let that mind wander. You know what I'm saying? Like for me, sometimes it's why I like baseball so much, because it's a more cerebral game. I could just relax a lot and listen to baseball, and a lot of thoughts and ideas to write come while I'm doing that. You know what I mean? At the same time, though, and I know Free knows this, when I'm out there doing kung fu, we just black out doing 180 moves, and no infinite mind knows this, and that's messed up what I just read. A lot of ideas come to us. So what we may perceive lazy might just be that your mind needs a time to wander and let these things connect. You know what I mean? Of course, everything can be overdone and overused. Just like you can overtrain, you can just read too much and oversaturate. All of these things can happen. You know what I mean? What's the significance? I hope that answers the question, Quartis. Malik, you said, what's the significance in 35 to 50 years? The 35 to 50 years is really like a generation. You know what I mean? So that's why it's important. It's like the gaps of a generation. If you notice, 120 has a lot of that concept. Yeah, man. Shock G, just God, Infinite Mind just said Shock G returned to the essence. You know, first person I think of is Tupac, though. You know what I mean? If it wasn't for Digital Underground and Shock G, we wouldn't really have the launching of Tupac's career. You know? Shock G, that was when man, Humpty Hump, that was when like the actual crossover rap song actually had skill. You know what I mean? Yeah, that's oh man. Condolences, LT. I didn't know if you knew him, you know. Ah, that's crazy, Infinite Mind, yeah. Infinite Mind, I was always little though, so they always made me an Ewok. You know what I mean? I remember that though. Older, they used to make me and my brother an Ewok for Halloween. You know what I mean? With the plastic face mask and shit, you know. But yeah, that's a shame, man. A lot of brothers dying. And let me tell you something. Yeah, it's true though. It's true. I gotta keep it real. But you know what's interesting that I'm finding out, like in my time in hip hop in the 90s in the industry and into the 2000s, because I was pretty much seeing these record labels from the mid 90s all the way into the late 2000s. The healthy lifestyle was spoken about by, and really sincerely spoken about by a lot of MCs, but nearly none of them lived it out. You know, their lifestyle was trash, and the amount of drugs and the amount of things that they did was trash. The amount of pressures that they dealt with was terrible. The amount of long-term money that they got was very minimal. You know, so to see, and I don't know how Shock G returned, but it's something to take note of. You know, I think the best thing that happened to music is that we don't need a fucking label anymore. You know what I mean? People always go, "Oh, well, everybody wants to make music now," but listen, that's the joy of listening to music. Everybody gets to create, and look, if he's whack, then you don't listen to him. You keep digging. We could be an active consumer, just like we look for books to read, look for music to listen to, instead of having people tell it to you that you don't even bear witness to. Ah, that's peace, LT. Yeah. Oh man, damn, that's. I'm sorry to hear that, LT. You know, in all the interviews I've seen with him, man, he always seemed like a real peace brother. You know what I mean? Yeah. And you know, the Ewoks, yeah, I used to love that cartoon too. They put that on Disney Plus, so I'm trying to get my little one to watch it with me, you know, so I could relive my youth again. You know? But yeah, it's a shame. Yeah. I'll tell you something though. There's so many great artists right now because of this, but the pitfalls of the industry, you know what I mean? You really see it, you know, you really see it. You know, and I don't even know how he died, but I had done my last show about DMX and Black Rob, and that was when they were really hitting when exploitation was hitting its peak. You know, what's interesting too is that during those times though, they also started to figure out the lyrics. You know, in the '90s, right? Brand Nubian in the early '90s, mid '90s, early, you know, Wu Tang and their legacy. You know, the special, you know, the peak of Wu Tang, '93 to '97. You know, I like to add '98 because I consider that year incredible too. But only Wu heads would really get that. But during those peak years, people didn't know what those lyrics meant. It was only once transcription became a thing, and I know who started transcribing the lyrics and who was the first sites. And once they started to transcribe, then they could analyze and see which lyrics they wanted on their labels and which they didn't. You know, they could actively tell somebody, I don't want you talking about that like that. You know what I mean? Oh, that's what you mean? No, we get somebody else. You know what I mean? Right? P.E.A.C.E had a God. Yeah, Quartis. Yeah, water is very potent. Very, very potent. You know, and the ancients always knew about it. Like the old books, like the Yogi Water Cure. You know, just the movement of water is crucial. You know, I get why that would make sense, Quartis. Culture being represented symbolically by rippled water. For example, like in the Yogi Water Cure, you know, they talk about reviving the water, mixing it, shaking it, not leaving it stagnant. And for example, the Moors, they had a very vibrant cities because they were the ones that came out with water fountains and stuff. And this was a way of circulating air and keeping the energy vibrant. You know what I mean? Water carries a lot of energy. You know what I mean? Because we are made mostly of water, though, then we know that it carries a lot of energy, you know, and it could transfer as well, you know. But yeah, that's an interesting thought. You know, the idea of culture is rippled water. No, that's peace, God. I'm glad I answered the question. Give me a moment. Let me see who's out in front. Stuff. God, I'm gonna take the heater, all right?
Take that way.
I'm here.
Oh, okay.
Not
You gotta lock that back door, right?
Indeed, God. Indeed.
You lock the bottom lock.
Okay, God.
You told me what's going on. Put the heater on up there. You want that heater on?
Oh yeah, no doubt. I didn't know you had the remote. Every time I always ask for it, nobody has it.
I have the heater.
Okay. I didn't know you had the key. Yeah, he's nice.
The cold came back up.
No, because every time I ask for the remote for the thing, nobody has it. So I'm like, yo, we don't need this. We're doing this thing. I'm like, I'm ready to do some. I did 180 Uzis just to keep warm. Okay.
Thank you, God.
Mm-hmm. All right, I'm back.
When you come in on the day, just ask me. Well, I'm not here. Ask the king to turn it on.
Oh, that's peace, God.
Yes.
Yeah. All right, Fernando Cortez. I'm assuming you were trying to spell my name though. It didn't exactly come out right. You know? As far as that specific conquistador, I don't really remember too much about him. You know what I mean? Like I have to go back. You know what I mean? Because he's associated with the Aztec Empire and stuff like that. But offhand, I don't remember too much about him. You know what I mean? I mean, he's important to ridding, you know, taking over a lot of Mexico, obviously, you know, putting it under the Spanish crown and stuff. But as far as him particularly, I don't know too much about him particularly, you know? Yeah. Was there anything that you were, you know, about him particularly? What do you mean by finesse, Quartis? You said, can warriors have finesse? What does a proper mix of finesse style and a warrior look like? Shit. I would think it looked like the finesse would be, you know, the polo, like right this, right here. You know what I mean?
Look at that.
Yeah. No, you know, I'm being funny about it, Quartis, but yeah, that you know, it's when you learn kung fu, for example, right? You're not really learning any yang, you know, aggressiveness. It's all in you. That energy, that intensity to initiate. What you are learning though is yin, how to express it and funnel it the correct way. You know what I mean? And that would be where the finesse comes in. You know what I mean? Right? And that's finesse in everything. You know what I mean? Finesse in everything. Oh, indeed. Oh, indeed. Yeah. I don't think that brothers are wearing Cortez Nikes though, because they're saluting the conquistador though. You know what I mean? I mean that's how Nike came with the name though. But I don't. I mean, because that's a West Coast. That's fucking West Coast shit. You know what I mean? Cortez Nikes. You know they dope. That's West Coast joints. You know. That's how they do it. You know. Yeah, is this thing pumping? Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think that people are wearing Cortez Nikes because they.
You sound Mexican.
Yeah. You know, a lot of you know, a lot of whatchamacallit.
Yeah, but Nike's a real devil for doing that shit.
Yeah.
Is I would make a sneaker that's popular to Mexicans in the West Coast, and they ran out
Right.
motherfucker who.
But let's keep but those sneakers were not made for Mexicans. You know what I'm saying? I ain't never seen nobody make nothing for Mexicans. So,
Yeah, it's true.
you know, it's you know, just like a lot of things, you know, we take it and make it our own though, and we rock it the best, but you know what I mean? Just like Nike's some Greek shit. So, you know, it's not like, you know, that we fucking with that like that. Mhm. Yeah. Get these glasses on so I can stand up a little bit. Let's see what we have here. Yeah. You got the black. Yeah, Supreme Freedom got the black lead. Yeah, them joints is fine. Yeah, that. I mean, unless your Cortezes are all dirty and shit. I mean, white boys be having the Cortezes all dirty. You know what I mean? You can tell they had the Cortezes, so you know, since 2002 and shit. 7930, you said, wasn't easy getting on a movie soundtrack, let alone timey cameo shot in the early 90s, a rapper piece of shot. Gee, indeed, indeed. You know. Anytime you hear a good musician, it worked hard. Okay? People don't unite by good music. Okay? People are challenged by good music. The truth is that people have been united by shitty music. That's been more the standard. Oh yeah. I could build on that again. Yeah, the yin and yang. Right. All right. So check it. Right. Since I'm standing up, the yang is the nature, the essence, the fire that you already have in you. You know what I'm saying? The strength, the potency, the vigor, and it is what initiates things. Right. But let's say if you're training martially, you're not going to throw every single thing you got into one blow. Then you would lose all your energy. So the idea, though, is to learn Kung Fu and to learn these arts, you are learning to what? You are learning to funnel the energy, you see? And the dispersal of the energy. So that would be in learning the yin, how to master your yin energy, you know what I mean? How to funnel everything, how to let things out, you know what I mean? And that's where the yang and yin are balanced in that sense a lot. And when we speak about the fighting, you know what I mean? The fighting, arts and everything like that. You know what I mean? Music or art of the muses, right? Good art begets other art. You know what I mean? I know. You know. All right, VC Realm. And in my classroom, in the physical classroom, I always try to get everybody to network with each other. So I hope that all you brothers, as you say, peace to each other and everything, that you actually network and build with each other and get to know each other. You know what I mean? And where you're at and what you're doing and stuff like that, and network with each other. You know what I mean? Well, we could get rat also if we play with the letters, and that would be terrible. Not necessarily, though. No, Quatis, because it never is just one thing. You know what I'm saying? It's how you apply yang and yin. You know what I mean? So I applied it in that fashion. You know what I mean? Because it's the more masculine energy. You know what I mean? I did get your email, VC Realm. If I missed it, I will look for it. What helps me if I miss an email is by pestering me. Good way to pester me is to forward that same email and say, hey, look at this. You know what I mean? The yang is what is provoking. Yin is what is allowing. You know what I mean? It's almost like man, woman in this concept. You know what I mean? So that's what we mean there. You know what I mean? Does that make sense, Quatis? Am I making some kind of sense here? Because I know that could be confusing. You know what I mean? Because I know that in your reading, I know I haven't really given you anything to read like that. You know what I mean? That has to do with that. So, it could be confusing. Truth is that we are educated by creativity. Yin is usually feminine. It is nearly always feminine in concept. But as many people like to tell you, they always try to remind you that it doesn't mean man or woman. You know what I mean? It has to do with the nature of the energies. And the reason for that is because they don't want you to make you, you're not supposed to be looking into yang and yin to say that like man has no yin and woman has no yang. That's not really what it means. It means the predominant energies. You know what I mean? So that initiating, that aggressive energy, sparking energy, that yang, but that yin is what allows. So like that's where you could see it in the elements, where fire is yang and water is yin, and you start to understand the feminine and the masculine energies and their disparities and their similarities, right? All right.
Yeah.
We start to learn about the different aspects of martial arts. You also have to learn about Qi Kung and the energy work. And that's really where this science really comes into play. Your early introductions, even if you're not dealing with martial arts, though, will make a lot of sense once you read the Tao Te Ching. And then you start to understand about yang and yin a little bit better, you know? Oh, that sucks, Asiatic God. Look at that. Where you rest at, Asiatic? So that means if you're taking a Greyhound, though, you're quite a ways. But oh, you just moved back. Okay. Where God powers from? Planet Asia. Yeah. Planet Asia. At the beginning of the 2010s, maybe by 2012 or 13, he was one of the greats. By 2021, most likely, at least in my book, a legend. He is eclipsed. Oh, that's peace. That's peace. Got family out there in Sacramento. They be around there. That's beautiful to see these teachings out there. You know what I mean? See these teachings everywhere. And look, we talk about gratification and things like that. See the glory of the small. The teachings are being taught every time that you engage somebody like, yo, I don't come here Thursday and I say, look, this is my 5% teaching quotient. You know, I'm done. Every time I take the opportunity to teach something, you know what I'm saying? Then I did what I'm supposed to do. I did it as my elders taught me. You know? Anything that you teach, you know what I mean? Anytime you teach, anytime that you sacrifice your time and give some of your time to add on, to help, to share, that's what you're doing. You're doing your duty as a 5%. You know what I mean? That's what it is. All right. Jaleel James, thank you. Well what I was doing was not worthwhile, I would know about it. Hopefully I could go home. Right, Free? I was still saying, right? You could prove that all the shit I'm saying is wrong or unworthwhile, then
Shit.
I could just go home and I don't have to come here anymore, dude. Just be all good. I could be watching the Mets fuck up right now. They'll probably win today, and I'm not watching them. I'm watching get destroyed yesterday. Shit was like 2 touchdowns they lost by. God damn. Okay, so you figured it out. Okay, good. Yeah. But, for anybody, like, when you email me, the books I'm going to give you are usually going to be EPUBs. But you guys should have all the apps. Google Play Books, Kindle, Nook, and your Acrobat reader, like the PDF reader, But PDFs are the lowest on totem pole. That's the lowest type of file, though. You know what I mean? Because you can't do, you could write notes in it, but then at the same time, though, you can't write notes in it while you have enlarged it.
Right.
So then you got to take it out that mode and then put the note in it. It's a pain in the ass.
Now you gotta pay for it.
Yeah, if you want to do it more easier, yeah, And the whole point is that you're not paying for all this stuff. But the Google Play Books is the best. Keep your notes in there. You can enlarge, put different fonts, different backgrounds, right? And I don't know why people want to read in a white background. You can change that background, make it more soothing to the eye. Your phone should always have your blue light filter on.
He said always.
Always though.
All right, go.
Yeah, always though. Yeah, don't. That's Free's an exception though, because you be taking the photographs though, so you seeing shit different. Yeah. So I just care about the way things are read. I ain't got no games, none of that shit. I just got books and music and this shit. That's what this travel computer's for. That little travel computer for. You know what I mean? But most EPUB books fit into Google Play. If they don't, it's because they're too big, and then it just won't accept it because it's sometimes it glitches. You can put them in your Nook. For that, with those you could just email it to yourself and open it in your phone and open it via Nook. With the Google, open it on your computer. Save it on your computer and just upload it straight into Google Play Books through your laptop computer. It's much easier that way, not through the phone. Gotcha, Malik. Random question. That's what I'm here for. I want to get all your questions that I missed last week. When mixed races, P.E.A.C.E asks, come together to make a baby, is it the man that is reduced, added to the woman's genetic makeup race, or is it the woman who has reduced the man's genetic makeup? It's really the dominant gene, man. Who's original? Who's not? If they're both original peoples, though, just from different aspects of the diaspora, then it is what it is. You know what I mean? But it's always, black is the dominant gene. So whoever's got the dominant genes, you know what I mean? And if they mix, though, they're always going to come out original. Right? Quartis, you said it's interesting when we look at the grafted man's numbers on Earth in comparison to the original population all over the Earth, and how that is affecting the way civilization progresses. It is interesting, we have been taught to think like him. And the truth is that most people are dominated by their way of thought, you know, in some way or another. And that's why you got to teach the babies, because they are the only ones to challenge that. A new way of thinking. Asiatic God, you said, Sunez, you heard my song, Mehmet? No, I have not. I have not. I didn't even know that you made music. So I would like to, yeah. Let me put my email there. Send me a link or something. Yeah. You know, I like to hear everything. I always give my honest thought about it. All right, Stocky B24, peace. Malik, you said, is the hereafter a religious term? Yes, it's usually a religious term. You know, in the hereafter, like, you know, that's usually a religious term. Mm-hmm. But it's really meant to be after something major has happened. You know what I mean? Usually a prophecy, and that's why it ends up being religious. Dr. Denkenstein, how was Yaqub and his maid double ran from the root civilization when it took 600 years to make double? Wouldn't Yaqub be dead? Yes, he would have been dead. Again, this is another grammar point. Yaqub with the mentality, the leadership. Okay? So yes, Yaqub is technically not there. You know what I mean? But it's Yaqub's reality. You know what I mean? So that's what it is, you know? Often asked, and should always keep being asked by new students. Good question. Read them literal. Read them literal so that you ask the questions properly, and then we can get to the abstract concepts and all of that. But yeah, Yaqub's the mentality. You know what I mean? All right. Your name is Shakim Allah. Peace, Shakim Allah. Okay. All right, let me copy that down though. Let me copy that math. I don't want to use my phone right now because it's connected and I don't really want to move the wire like that. But I will copy it down into my notes, my class notes. All right. But even still, if you have music, email it to me though. I don't really check a lot of music on the phone like that. You know what I mean? Like all that other stuff. It's always the best way when I'm really studying music is gonna be on this laptop. I got some big ass speakers I hook it up to and go in. Or my better headphones, right? My quality headphones. Student had to hear it from someone else to show and prove. Ah, okay. Okay. That again, yes. That is what I was taught. And that's really what Elijah was talking about. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not Yaqub physically. You know what I mean? The more you get it understand, the more you realize, oh, I don't give a shit about where the hell Yaqub was or anything. Somebody made this shit up. Somebody caused all this. Somebody thought that this would be worthwhile, that this had to be done. So that's the thing that we start realize that this had to be done. You know what I mean? Somebody realized that this had to be done. You know what I mean? And therein lies, you know, how do I see superstition? Is this the same as religiosity? Superstition is very debilitating because it is about patterns that you refuse to prove. That's all it is. Somebody's superstitious about something, they're attributing a consistent mathematical pattern to something that they have not proven. So it's a particular type of religiosity, really. You know what I mean? So it's very detrimental. You know, I know it happens every time this thing falls down like that. I always have a bad day. So what happens is that becomes the pattern. It becomes self-fulfilling, and in health, so most of the time, it's not even proven. You may not even had bad days. You know what I mean? You may have just had one that stays in your head. Does that mean that some of the made devils did not have the Yaqub's mentality? That's a good question. And it's a good question because it exposes the shittiness of Elijah's grammar. But we say no. The made devils are just sloppy, and that's why they're being exiled. They're doing all kinds of devilishment, and not, and so they got exiled because they were called, telling lies, stealing, right? All of that. So they all had that mentality and all had to be exiled. Their effectiveness varies between the individuals because they were extremely weak and thus wicked. So they would be, you have to envision more of a chaotic reality as opposed to a structured reality. Getting what they get from Musa is the structure. You know what I mean? Right? So that's what they needed. How do they embed themselves into society properly, in such a way where they could be useful? You know what I mean? This is the thing. But that's a very good question. You know what I mean? Again, no. Make these literal questions, but don't always make your understanding has to make these questions, because Elijah's grammar is something to be questioned. Sometimes what he said isn't always the way we think it means or what we think it's supposed to mean. You know what I mean? That's why, so that's important. Yeah. Malik, you said when half originals is used or said, does it mean in thought or race? It depends on the context, though. Could be both or one. When it talks about Musa was half original, though, it's most likely just his teachings. When it's talking about Fard, it's both, because we know that Elijah taught outside of 120. He taught about Fard, so we know that Fard, was half original, but he did not have half original mindset. You know what I mean? For the most part, in the lessons, the half original has to do with the mentality. Absolutely. You know what I mean? Because Christopher Columbus is not half original. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not important. The concept, whether he had some, whether he had some devil or had some original, the real jewel about Columbus is that he was a devil. You know what I mean? So the half original mentality is the most key thing. Proving whether he had some black blood is really irrelevant. It really would be a waste of time. I hope that answers the question.
Taking a selfie take.
I ain't mad at you, good.
Want something to drink, Carl?
Nah, I'm good, God.
It's been like this lately,
Pretty much, man. This is the way it is usually, like once the COVID, man, like
shit is so crazy to me.
Yeah, it is, man. And I can't even get mad because I don't want people to come to the school and if they're not comfortable,
Right.
you know?
How do you feel about the vaccinations, Lota?
I've always been against vaccinations because even when I read
Yeah,
the
of
ingredients, I don't bear witness to them. I think that they're forcing a lot of people to take them,
Right.
to do certain things that they need to do. You know what I'm saying? And it's everybody's decision to make. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying one way or the other though, but it's really a mutagen, and it's really mutating the cells so that way it could actually perform as a vaccine. You know what I mean?
Right.
So it's like something that is trying to create a vaccine state in your body.
Shit.
Very intriguing, you know? Yeah, it's very intriguing. You know what I mean? And I just don't want to put shit like that in mind. But the truth is that people have been experimented on for years because people have been eating GMOs and people think like it's GMO, like it's just one genetically altered style. It's not one. It's all different types of genetically modified organisms. It's genetically modified organism. So it's all types of different things. It's all type of organisms that people have been fucking with in different ways. So this food might have this type, this food might have that type. They never have to go under any kind of scrutiny to even label this kind of stuff. So every time people have done that, they have mutated their bodies. And there's a book called Formerly Known as Food, where she talks about how, you know, shows real studies how this affects you generationally. And she talks about epigenetics, which is also a key in making the devil. You know what I'm saying? And because epigenetics is the constant, if you constantly attack the gene, you have consistently altered the gene. So if the gene is attacked and it becomes more prone to high blood pressure, even if I live a healthy lifestyle as a child of parents and grandparents with high blood pressure, I still am very high risk to get high blood pressure, even with the right diet. That's the epigenetic shit of it. You know what I mean? And that's what's crazy about it. And the GMOs have that kind of effect. This book even showed how like a lot of these experiments with a lot of these genetically modified foods and a lot of these other things actually were causing like the lab rats and stuff like that, the animals that they experimented on, was really the mice and the rats, to actually have, like, for example, female bodies, but male brains.
Yes.
And so the female rat with that male brain would refuse to perform as a female and would be trying to do what? Do things that men do. And as we would know, would be totally ineffective. These are things that today's, society of acceptance and cancel culture and all that kind of shit doesn't want to read about or anything like that because they think everything is natural. We're eating all these fake foods and all these horrible things and all these chemicals. And she, in the book, they make a great build that I was been saying for a long time because God, any kind of chemical exposure to things that's like a chemical, hydrofluorocarbons from like a spray and all that kind of fake shit, instead of using natural oils, diffused or incense, all of these things can have an effect on you. But people go, nah, it's non-toxic though. It's non-toxic because it won't kill you at that moment. But what they're saying and what she was showing was what I've been trying to say a long time. And what I've been saying and seeing in other research is that the accumulation of those small amounts eventually will become toxic in you.
Oh, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So like a little bit of that is going to have an effect on you. You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that we understand that everybody's going to end up using some type of chemical. There's going to be something around. You know what I mean? But we have to do your best to try to deter all that. You know what I mean? And it's not being done. You know what I mean? It's not being done. And with the vaccine and stuff like that, I just wouldn't really advocate it,
Of course not.
But like I said, look, you have to make your own decisions and
That's
stuff.
relying on the white man to be the savior.
You know?
That's wicked, man.
And look, some people that don't bear witness to it have taken it because they feel they had to, right? Or because they have to travel, they have to get to things, they have to start a life because people have been forced, you know? It's a tough situation, you know what I mean? Obviously, I've always been on that other side of not taking it, you know? I've had family members take it, you know what I'm saying?
Sure.
And, you know, they were okay. So, it's, you know, it's lucky, but it's really luck of the draw, you know what I mean? It's really luck of the draw because it's only been seen as safe, really almost like theory.
Right.
Because they didn't really get to test it that much. But they feel confident. You know why they feel confident? Because they've been testing GMOs on us, though, without seeing any effects for so long.
Right.
They didn't say, let's test these GMOs for 20 years to see if it has a bad effect. No, they didn't do that. They start using that shit immediately. So we're already primed to be experimented on many levels, you know, many levels. And if you study the FDA, companies make up new chemicals all day so that their food has a unique formula and that their food is a special food. So that they can say natural flavors and unique blends. When this continues to happen again and again, they make new chemicals that could be made, they could artificially make chemicals out of natural ingredients. So they take two natural things and make something artificial out of it. You know what I mean? And all this gets passed by the FDA because they also hand in their own studies that they did themselves to show that it works. And the FDA has no way of backlocking. They're totally have no way of getting all this work done or even give a damn about doing all that work.
Right.
So, with, you know, all you can do is do your best to live as clean as possible. We live in the devil's civilization. There is some chemical going up in you that you are having to fight. So I could say, I eat really great, There's still something that I'm breathing or something that has been sprayed or some type of chemical that we use to clean that is still out there. You know what I mean? And it's just, you know.
Yeah, that's right, God.
That's why you have to have those things, the chlorophylls and all those things to try to combat all this stuff and detox because it's going to happen. You know what I mean?
Peace. That's scary as fuck, God.
This whole shit is scary, God. I'm not understanding the wording of your question, Easy God. Does as an anagram is dose? Not really sure what you're saying there. Hey, Kareem, are there 9 planets? Technically, no. Right? In the solar system, technically, no. You know? Okay. Quatis, you said when you listen to so much music to journal and share your list of good artists, do you listen to songs or albums more than once to see if there's something not initially heard on the first go? I think I said this last time. I said this once, but it sounds messed up, but I'm allowed to do it, Joe. I'm allowed to hear shit once only.
That one good time.
If I wanted to, because I've heard so much music, I know what's good. I'm a fast listener. So one listen is going to tell me, I hear a lot in one listen. And because I hear so much in one listen, I know what's going to be good. And certainly I use it to know what's a rudimentary record, like what's a basic record, like what's basic, and I don't really have to, you know what I mean? And then I can pick apart things, you know what I mean, and put it in there. But then there's ones that you have to listen. You know, I collect so many albums, especially with hip hop, to write about and put everything into a context. I actually bold the albums I didn't listen to yet. I underline the albums in the list that I only gave like one listen to or an incomplete listen. And then I leave the albums I listen to completely. And then as I go along, though, I'm taking mental note, you know. With hip hop, obviously it's easy. One of the easiest things to do is to see if they had said something worthwhile. On those first listens, I usually get everything as far as what they said, you know, and that's something people don't get when they listen to hip hop. They usually don't get everything that was said. So it makes it happen. faster. You know what I mean? But it's hard though. It's always with music. There's always things you miss, things you want to go back to and stuff. You know? It's hundreds and hundreds and thousands of songs. Asiatic God, you said epigenetics also says that people who have bad genes can change them. It's vice of it kind of goes both ways though. You can also positively affect the gene. The gene is living and it's growing and it's developing. So you can impact the real science that you can impact the gene. No, I have not heard the new Cambada. Good MC never really cared for his musical choices. But BC Realm, you said going that epigenetics route, if I'm gonna take the bad, gotta take the good in totally, not just last 500, but go further and further back up to now. I'm trying to get what you mean there. I'm saying when general pop only pull from nothing, severe aspects of it. I'm a little confused what you're trying to say there. Okay, let's see. Supreme, you said they used to be, didn't try to declassify Pluto as a planet a while back. It's not a planet. It's not considered a planet anymore, though. And I think Neil deGrasse Tyson explains it the best, though. So you go look that up, though, and see what he says. But it's not. You know what I mean? It's not. And it would be too much to change of the other planets to make it fit into the definition to make Pluto a planet. I am getting warm, though. The God, I didn't know that the God had the remote, so he turned on the heat. You know what I mean? Usually Justice is here, though, and I know he has it, but I didn't know that the God had it. I should have asked, right? See? I'm making everybody ask questions I didn't ask. No more Mr. Miyagi hands. I'm still a little cold, you know. It takes me a long time to get warm, you know what I mean? But I'm functional now. When the ingredients say natural flavors, ain't that secret code for having pork or some kind of meat product in it? No, because vegan products will say natural flavors. So if it says it's vegan and it says natural flavors, it really just means that they don't want to share their blend of ingredients. It's really about making a unique product. And now the product gets to be unique and not just nature, you know? Okay. If you move the letters around in does, you get dose. Okay. Yeah. VC Realm. Okay. Yeah, Conway does have a new album. Yeah, it came out last week. VC Realm, you said when people reference epigenetics in the past, traumas they say they hold, but won't take that same path with the greatness their ancestors have lived through and built upon. You know why, right? Just try to understand them. They don't know for sure that the greatness of their ancestors is actually a truth. You understand? And let's be real, we don't. Like, it is easier to show and prove the worst of our ancestors than it is to prove the greatness of our ancestors. See? That is, and I mean as proving it as particular individuals. You see? We have difficulty doing that. And that's why people have that difficulty. You know what I mean? The real jewel about epigenetics, though, is that whatever is done can be undone by building greater. You know what I mean? And there are so many healthy foods that can detox you and repair the cell. You know what I mean? So it's never for naught. When the currents are mentioned, is it communication? It could be if you're looking at it, but you'd have to extend the metaphor to the whole thing. You know what I mean? Extend the whole build. metaphor to the whole thing. You know what I mean? The whole degree. LT, you said you came back and heard natural flavors. Sometimes it says natural flavors because they know there are critters in the factory and there might be some type of bug. That's not really why they say that, because all companies are allowed to have some kind of bugs or whatever like that. You know what I mean? As far as like accidentally coming in. Now, the bugs that you're talking about though is that there are certain things that are made with crushed bugs, like certain dyes and stuff. You know what I mean? Are made with bugs and stuff. So yeah. They'll use anything that they can get cheaply, and harvest any part of an animal that they find appropriate or useful. Insect secretion sometimes might be considered natural from what I read. And yes, that's very true. That's very true. You know what I mean? Yeah. A lot of red dyes are actually bug secretions. I forget which bug though. But yeah, definitely. That's why when you see natural flavors though, it helps if it's vegan. If I see natural flavors and it's not vegan, I don't know what that is, man. But one of the horrors about this is that in the chemical world, that helps us not get animals in our food that we don't want. But you can create an artificial, never would exist in nature ingredient by mixing two natural flavors, and they will call that new existing artificial, completely generated in the lab type thing, a natural flavor. So this is a problem. This is a problem. And that's why I said, like, all of us though have had some type of, it doesn't matter how clean you make your diet though, there's always something, you know what I mean? So you just do your best. And that's why studying the foods that detox is crucial, Studying the vegan diet so that it clears your body out though, even if you decide not to be vegan. These are things that you have to learn and study. You know what I mean? You have to use these diets and this knowledge as warfare. It is very, very important. You know what I mean? But we got about 20 minutes left. Make sure you have your questions in. Raw honey, natural honey, I kind of forget which one it is, but one of them has the other stuff from the bees when they harvest it. It'd be a raw honey, the raw honey. And all of it is good. That's peace. Now I feel like having an orange. And I feel like having honey. I love honey. It makes me not technically a vegan because it's the only thing that is vegans don't, it's not considered vegan I would eat. But when I don't have honey, it's only, I usually don't have honey though, but it's really because it tastes so good and it affects my body fat. So I'm like, I do all this training. I gotta keep light, Or at least a light feel, right? Because for my height, I'm pretty big. Yeah, that's peace. That's peace. Give me one moment. We have about 15 to 20 minutes left. Let me get your questions, your answers, and what we can do, okay? As we go along in the next couple of weeks, I'm going to have some new specific lessons I'm going to be sharing, okay? All right. All right. All right, we're in the last bit. Do I consider, oh, I see, that's a good question. Do I consider the martial arts Islam? I sub Lord and Master. That's the only way I learned it. It's the only way I learned it. Absolutely. It is the, as Bruce Lee said, it is the expression, you know, the full expression of the body, you know what I mean? And the mind, you know. It's the only way that I learned it, though, you know. I learned martial arts and became a martial artist because of the gods. So the framework by which we learned it was only that framework, you know what I mean? So absolutely, you know what I mean? And you heard the secretions of some beaver is used with flavoring, and yeah, you're correct. You're correct. You know what I mean? They use all this stuff, and it's just disgusting. You know what I mean? All right.
I don't know this halal guy.
Oh, that's piece.
But it says it's fresh, cold pressed, man.
Oh man,
Hopefully it's right exact though.
looks good to me.
Cool.
That's piece, guy. I'm gonna definitely drink this.
Whatever you call it.
You're easy, like God. You're really obsessed with changing the sounds of words. You know what I mean? But, you know, you need to buy yourself the Oxford Etymology Dictionary. You know what I mean? Because a lot of the gods, right? They always had this thing about. They've always had this thing and have this thing about manipulating the sounds of words, and that could reveal the true origins of what they meant. And the thing is that that's how you're interpreting it. But that's not how the sounds were originally made. So you don't know that was the reasoning, you know? So you didn't uncover a secret meaning if only it sounds like something to you, you know what I mean? Even though you said, no, but it has to sound like that to everybody. That is not always the case because they may have taken a detour and that word originally was something completely pronounced differently and kept altering and altering till it becomes what it is. So that's why be very careful because when you get into those sound things, you're getting into etymology, and what it sounds like isn't always what it is, especially with English. All right, English is a language that you know it's so convoluted and so it is so blended with so many things that it could really be a problem, though. You know what I mean? Yeah, you don't. Supreme Science, peace to the God. Etymological fallacy. Yeah. You don't want to get lost in. Don't do self etymology. Don't self etymologize shit. You know what I mean? It gets you into problems and shit. You know what I mean? Yeah. Yeah. It's not really gonna help. You know what I mean? Right. It's good for the flyness, for the lyrics. You know what I mean? Oh, absolutely, AJ. Yeah, that interest that it seems like it sounds like other words, words within words. Yeah, but that's why I'm telling you, get yourself an etymology dictionary. If you can get the Oxford Etymology Dictionary, start studying etymology. You'll see a lot into it. You know what I mean? Because that's where your interest is just lying right now. Don't leave it where you're putting that together and it's setting up some subconscious, and certainly not a conscious insight. You know what I mean? You could find etymology dictionaries on Amazon and stuff. They sell them. You know, that like just looking for any type of dictionary. If you go to a bookstore, if there are any in Oxford, they would know. Okay, yeah. Then, I don't know about Chambers. You know what I mean? I just know about Oxford because it's old and it's got a lot of stuff in it that when you see the etymology dictionary actually tell you the meanings of these words and what they originally meant, then you know you have a good one. If it just leaves you with the history of how the sounds developed, then you have a very like regular and basic one. You know, what you're really looking for with etymology is not just how the sounds changed, but and over time to become what it is, but you're really looking to the history and the fluctuations of the meanings, you know what I mean? Of how it changed meanings. Do I have any plus lessons pertaining to food or degrees? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. You know what I mean? I definitely do. I have an entire health protocol, living foods protocol that I give out. You know what I mean? And in earlier classes that I know I did last year, I do this repeatedly. So every year we go through it. So it's no problem and this year I have not. So it's fine to teach this again and add new things or get better, your new latest questions. You know what I mean? So I could go through that the next class, you know what I mean? Because the protocol's a lot, you know what I mean? It's a lot of detail, a lot of insights and stuff. And but what I could do, Malik, though, is that email me for it, and I'll email it to you so you can start to read it, you know? Kareem said today's map is wisdom, the ways in which you live your life, to have the magnetic, to get the other wisdom, which is the queen, because she, knowledge, God together, reborn the culture, man, woman, and child. I see that, if that was the objective. All right. All right. So pretty soon I'm going to end this. That way I can close up shop here. So if there are any questions, please let me know. I haven't written many columns lately only because I'm writing a particular book that is very important to me right now. So all my free time in the weekend is being used up for that. You know what I mean? But there's a lot of old columns that I know went over people's heads or are very heavy that you could check. Yeah. Etymology dictionaries ain't cheap. And there's a reason that dictionary is that costly. You know what I mean? I wish I had a digital version of it though. But I don't, but maybe I might find one day. I have not though. So yeah. But again, if you emailed me and I didn't answer it, forward it back to me again. So it could be at the top of my pile, because it's a lot of stuff, you know what I mean? And I want to get to everybody's email and stuff like that. You know what I mean? right. All right, well, that's it, though. I'm going to end a little early. A couple of prepare myself to get out the door. So with that said, I'm going to say peace. Tuning in and building. And again, to be the student in this knowledge of self, make your efforts to contact me, okay? Contact me, because this is just the beginning, is learning in the classroom cipher. That's just a small beginning, okay? When I got knowledge of self, I was living here, you know, I was here all the time. And I was with my teachers. I was around them, you know what I mean? So you got to do your best to find that way, all right? So with that said, keep building, keep studying, keep creating, and keep researching, and keep developing your questions. They're more important than your explanations of things. Peace.